Hello everyone, I'm Alessandra and today in this documentary video I walk you through Malaysian trade performance from 2020 to 2025. We will explore the key trade, sector dynamic, trade partners and strategic insight to understand where Malaysians stand in global trades and what the future could hold.
Full lockdown on Kuala Lumpur and 5 states to curb a third wave of COVID-19.
The trade trends were volatile over the past 5 years. In 2020, Malaysia experienced a sharp drop due to COVID 19. The rebound in 2021 to 2020 was strong, driven by electronics and global demand recovery. 2023 saw some moderation as restocking normalized, and by the late 2024 into 2025, exports surged again, particularly in E&E, machineries, and parts.
Domestic exports versus re-exports. 2020-2025 net effect. A larger share of export growth during 2021 to 2024 was re-exports linked to regional production networks, while domestic exports showed steadier gains. Use BNMEMR and DOSM monthly releases to extract exact shares for your graphs. Pre-exports goods imported and then exported again. Example E and E parts processed in Malaysia rose sharply in the recovery phases. The prominence of Malaysia in regional electronics supply chains amplifies domestic exports goods produced principally in Malaysia. For example, palm oil, some petroleum products. Processed commodities recovered too, but growth patterns differ by sector E, and machinery often re-exports. Integrated supply show faster swings. Commodity exports are more linked to global prices.
These swings were caused by several factors: global supply chain restocking, semiconductors and tech cycles, commodity price volatilities, domestic demand for capital goods, monetary and the fiscal policy, including currency movement affecting competitiveness. Re-exports such as processed electronic parts grew sharply and contribute heavily to overall export growth. Domestic export, including palm oil and petroleum products, it grew more steadily. This distinction highlights Malaysia's role as a regional assembly and processing hub. Looking at the imports by end use, intermediate goods dominated, reflecting Malaysian manufacturing hub role. Capital goods rose in 2024 to 2025, this signaling higher business investment. Consumption goods remain the smallest and most stable category. In 2025, major exports were electronics, machineries, and commodities. Imports mainly consist of intermediate goods to support manufacturing, capital goods for investment, and steady consumption goods for household. Key export destinations were Singapore and China, reflecting strong regional integration and re-export flow. Import largely came from Asian neighbors, China, Japan, and Korea, supplying raw materials and components for the Malaysian manufacturing sectors. Ranks that approximate export share 2024. Key export specialization sector driver. Pulau Pinang, 32.8% electronics and electrical E&E products, especially semiconductors and test equipment, manufacturing high tech. Johor, 20.3% refined petroleum products, petrochemicals, E&E components, and machinery due to proximity to Singapore, manufacturing and resource. Selangor has 17.6% general manufacturing, E&E, chemicals, and automotive parts, served by Port Klang manufacturing. Sarawak has 7.7% liquefied natural gas, crude petroleum and palm oil, which is a raw and processed material. It also has commodities for mining and agriculture. The fifth place goes to Kuala Lumpur for 4.3% general trade, service, and E&E. It is often trade documentation, logistic facilitation, manufacturing, and service. Notes on the other key states: Sabah is a major exporter of crude petroleum, LNG, and palm oil, making a vital commodity producer, although its rank can fluctuate below the top 5 depending on the global oil and palm oil price. Kedah is increasingly important due to the expansion of its E&E activities, for example at Kulim High-Tech Park. It is closely supporting Penang export ecosystem. It is also the state-level trade dynamic. The number 1 manufacturing corridor, Penang, Johor, and Selangor. Penang dominance, massive export share, nearly 1 1/3 of the national total. It is to underscore its unparalleled role as the global E&E hub. It is often called the Silicon Valley of the East. Its exports are high value and directly linked to the global demand for semiconductors, making it primary drivers of the nation's trade performance. For Johor diversity, Johor benefits from its strategic location adjacent to Singapore, facilitating logistic and re-export, and hosts significant heavy industry, petrochemical, oil refining, offering a more diverse manufacturing base than Penang. For Selangor, it has a logistic edge. Selangor hosting Port Klang, one of the world's busiest ports, and being the country's economic heart, serve as the main logistic gateway for manufacturers' export across various industries. The commodity powerhouse for Sarawak and Sabah, the export performance of Sarawak and Sabah is heavily influenced by global commodity prices. LNG and crude oil prices are production volume. When energy prices are high, then share of national export risen, significantly contrasting with the most stable demand cycle of manufacturing E&E goods.